When the HOA president tried to evict him, she had no idea she was walking straight into her own nightmare. Malik Patterson had always dreamed of owning a home in a calm, upper-class neighborhood. After years of hard work, saving, and dedication, he finally made that dream come true. The house was a beautiful two-story brick property in Brentwood Estates, Tennessee. It sat on a neatly trimmed lawn with a wraparound porch and a wide backyard. It was everything he had imagined: peaceful, elegant, and the perfect place to start the next chapter of his life. But something didn't feel right from the very beginning. The day he moved in, the air carried a strange tension. Moving boxes still lined the driveway when Malik noticed eyes peering from behind curtains, people pausing on porches, and neighbors lingering just long enough to make their curiosity clear. No one came over to say hello. No welcome to the neighborhood. Only silence. At first, Malik brushed it off. Maybe folks around here just kept to themselves. Maybe over time they'd warm up. But the first real sign that wasn't going to happen came the very next morning. Malik had barely finished brewing his coffee when there was a sharp knock at the door. He opened it to find a woman in her mid-60s standing on his porch. She wore a neatly pressed beige blouse, pearl earrings, and a pin with the HOA emblem clipped to her cardigan. Her posture was stiff, her expression carefully neutral, but her eyes told another story, one Malik couldn't quite read yet. "Good morning," she said in a clipped tone. "I'm Barbara Whitman, president of the Brentwood Estates Homeowners Association." Malik smiled politely and offered his hand. "Nice to meet you. I know who you are," she cut in quickly, glancing past him into the house. "I wanted to go over a few things." She handed him a thick stack of printed documents stapled at the corner, HOA guidelines. Malik skimmed through them, noticing the usual stuff: lawn maintenance, approved paint colors, mailbox designs, standard rules. But then Barbara cleared her throat. "We like to maintain a certain standard here," she said, her gaze shifting to the moving truck parked in the driveway. "I assume you'll have that removed by this evening." Malik raised an eyebrow. "It'll be gone once I'm done unpacking." Barbara nodded, but it wasn't the satisfied nod. It felt more like she was making a note for later. "Good," she said flatly. "And just so you're aware, the HOA requires that trash bins be placed at the curb no earlier than 6 a.m. on collection day. I noticed yours were out last night." "I didn't put them out," Malik replied calmly. "The previous owners must have." "I see." Her lips tightened. "Well, in the future, please be mindful. We have rules for a reason." And just like that, she turned and walked away. Malik closed the door slowly and sighed. Maybe she was just one of those people who liked control. Many HOA presidents were like that. He decided not to let one fussy neighbor ruin his excitement. But the following days made it clear Barbara wasn't simply particular, she was watching him. A warning letter appeared in his mailbox about an unauthorized vehicle in his driveway, his own car. Another notice came about improper lawn maintenance. His grass had grown maybe an inch or two. Then came a violation about a porch light being too bright, even though it was the same one the previous owner had used. By the end of the week, Malik had a neat stack of papers, all from Barbara. He hadn't seen her since their first meeting, but she was clearly making her presence felt. Still, he stayed patient. Maybe she treated everyone like this. Maybe over time they'd warm up. But the first real sign that wasn't going to happen came the very next morning. Malik had barely finished brewing his coffee when he went for an evening walk and passed a group of neighbors chatting on a nearby driveway. Their conversation stopped the moment they saw him. One woman forced a tight smile, but the rest said nothing. Standing in the middle was Barbara, arms crossed, whispering to the others. Malik didn't need to hear what she said. He could feel it. This wasn't about rules, it was about him. The letters kept coming. Every morning, another notice in the mailbox, neatly sealed with the HOA stamp. At first, Malik ignored them. But when the fifth letter arrived in 2 weeks, this time about his trash bins, his patience ran out. The letter said, bins must be retrieved within 1 hour of collection to preserve neighborhood aesthetics. He frowned. He had picked up his bins the same evening as everyone else. Curious, he decided to check. The next morning, he took a slow walk through the neighborhood. By 9 a.m., dozens of trash bins were still out, some even overflowing. Not a single violation notice on any of them. Just his. He snapped a few photos and sent an email to the HOA board asking why his bins were an issue while everyone else's weren't. No reply. But 2 days later, Barbara was back on his porch again. She didn't even knock this time, just stood there, clipboard in hand. Malik opened the door. "Something I can help you with?" She didn't answer immediately. She peered inside his house like she was taking inventory, then held up a form. "This is a formal request for proof of home ownership. We've had complaints." "Complaints?" "Some neighbors have expressed concerns," she continued in that syrupy but cold tone. "They've noticed unusual activity, different cars, furniture deliveries at odd hours. They're worried you may be renting this property, which violates HOA policy." Malik laughed a short, humorless laugh. "You're kidding." Barbara didn't smile. "First," he said calmly, "I own this house. Second, I've lived here less than a month. And the cars? Friends and family visiting." Her fingers tightened on the clipboard. "We'll still need to verify your deed. I can pull the records myself. They're public." Barbara's eyes narrowed slightly, but she smoothed her face. "I'd prefer you submit it directly." "And if I don't?" Her lips curved into a stiff smile. "Then I'll have to escalate the matter to the board." He exhaled slowly, biting back frustration. She wanted him to react, to raise his voice, to become the problem. Instead, he smiled. "I'll think about it," he said, and closed the door. Barbara didn't like that. That evening, as Malik sat on his porch with a beer, she saw her again, at the end of his driveway, whispering to a man taking notes on a clipboard. She was looking for a way to get rid of him. The next morning brought a new email. Notice of violation, porch furniture. According to the message, his 2 wicker chairs and small glass table didn't match the neighborhood aesthetic. He laughed in disbelief. At least a dozen homes had similar setups, some with old plastic chairs that looked like they'd been out for years. But apparently, his was the problem. He ignored it. A day later, another email. Lawn maintenance violation. His lawn had just been cut, edged, and watered, yet the letter claimed it was overgrown. Malik saw the pattern. Barbara was trying to bury him in paperwork until he'd give up and leave, but he wasn't going anywhere. That evening, he walked through the neighborhood again, this time documenting every real violation he saw. Broken shutters, overgrown grass, trash bins left out for days. He took photos and filed complaints of his own. It didn't take long for Barbara to show up again. This time, she wasn't alone. Stephen Reynolds, the HOA vice president, stood beside her with a clipboard. "Mr. Patterson," Barbara greeted, voice tight. "We received your complaints." "Good," Malik replied evenly. "Then you know I'm not the only one breaking rules." Stephen cleared his throat. "We appreciate your concerns, but not every issue warrants action." "So mine do, but no one else's?" Barbara's lips pressed together. She pulled out another form. "This is your final warning before fines are issued. Your porch furniture and lawn need to be corrected immediately." Malik stared at the paper, then at her. He wasn't stupid. This wasn't about furniture. It was about control. "You know, Barbara," he said calmly, "I've read every HOA rule. There's nothing in here about replacing furniture that's in perfect condition." "It's a matter of neighborhood uniformity," she replied coldly. "So you enforce rules that don't exist." Stephen looked uneasy. Malik saw doubt flicker in his expression. He decided to press harder. "If I were someone else, one of my neighbors, would we even be having this talk?" Barbara's nostrils flared. Stephen stayed silent. "That's what I thought," Malik said quietly. Barbara stiffened. "If you refuse to comply, the HOA can take further action." "Then do what you have to do." She turned sharply and walked off, her posture rigid. Malik watched her go, gripping the paper. He had called her bluff, but he knew this wasn't over. He was right. The next morning, a thick envelope sat in his mailbox. From a law firm. Barbara had filed a formal complaint with the county housing authority accusing him of being a fraudulent occupant. She had gone from petty fines to trying to have him legally removed. The claims were ridiculous. No proof, just baseless suspicion. Malik could have ignored it, but he realized this wasn't about eviction. It was about exhausting him. She wanted to wear him down until he quit. So he made a call. "Hey, Joe," he said. "I need a favor." Joe Martinez was sharp and relentless. Within days, Malik had everything ready. He wasn't just going to defend himself, he was going to turn the tables.